But I do want to get to Craig Sandlin. He is kind enough to join us here on a Friday morning to talk a little Cincinnati Bengals football. Craig, you there? You got me? Can you hear me? How's it going?
I got you, man. Good morning. How we doing on this Friday?
We're doing good, man. Appreciate you making some time here, coming on. I know you got a hard out here around 10:30, but we got some time here to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. I certainly want to talk about Joe Burrow. You've been on this for a while. I got to give you credit on that. Basically saying, hey, there's a chance he could play on Sunday, and certainly the rest of the world, certainly nationally and from a local perspective, kind of waking up to that here as well. And I think, again, I haven't seen an official word here at this point, but it certainly feels like it's trending in that direction. My question to you, what made you feel so confident that this could be the return of Joe Burrow here this week, and do we definitely think he's going to play on Sunday?
Yeah, I told Reed last night or the night before that I think it's more probable than not at this point that Joe Burrow is your starting quarterback on Sunday. If he's able to log another full participation today at practice, I think there's zero chance that he's not your starting quarterback come Sunday. We have to remember, and we learned this from the Lamar Jackson saga, obviously, is that participation is based on what your regular reps would be in practice. So this is not a full participation because he's out there with second string or with the practice squad or whatever. He's out there taking full reps with the starters. We've seen during on social media, on pictures and videos, that he's lining up with Ted Karras and taking snaps from him to make sure he's getting comfortable. So yeah, I said it, a week ago today, that I felt that Joe Burrow would be back. And I'm even more confident today that that's going to be the case. When I said it, it was one of those things where I was like, all right, well, I think there's a chance here. I might as well go out on a limb and make a bold prediction. And here we are now. I'm like, it's not even a bold prediction anymore. I think it's just fact that Joe Burrow is your starting quarterback come Sunday. But what it comes down to is Joe Burrow is a competitor. And at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to be willing to sit in practice and on the sidelines if he's healthy enough to go. And if he's healthy enough to go at practice, he's going to tell Zac Taylor that he's healthy enough to go in the game. And it was funny. I don't know if everybody saw or listened to the interview with Tom Brenneman yesterday morning with Zac Taylor, but at one point, Tom asked Zac, is there a world where Joe Burrow will come into your office and say, Zac, I'm going to play. I want to play on Sunday. And Zac kind of laughed at it because Joe Burrow has absolutely already come to Zac Taylor and told him I'm playing on Sunday.
You kind of alluded to this. Joe Burrow certainly ultra competitor, and I think you could just go out there and say he's kind of a sicko and a nut job. Do you think in his head that he thinks that he's going to come back and they're going to run the table here? Obviously, we go back and forth on this. The Bengals season, for all intents and purposes, is over, but they're not mathematically eliminated yet. Do you think in Joe Burrow's mind, he says, you know what, we're going to beat New England, we're going to run the table and get in this thing?
I think most professional athletes have that mindset.
Yeah.
I think they're just overly confident, right?
Yeah.
Certainly if you're sitting here and you're on the Raiders or one of these terrible teams in the NFL, you're probably not sitting there thinking, all right, we're going to get going here and we're going to run the table at the end of the year. But I do think that if you're Joe Burrow with the history that he's had and the ability to lead this offense to victory, I think it's absolutely within his mindset to say, all right, I'm coming in here and we're getting to the playoffs. We're going to run the table. We're going to go 5-1 in this division. And that's going to be good enough to win the division and sneak into the playoffs. And then I'm freaking running the table in the playoffs too, and we're winning the Super Bowl, because I'm tired of this whole conversation that we haven't been back to the playoffs in 3 years and we haven't won a Super Bowl in however many years it's been now. I can't even do that math. And it's time. And Joe Burrow wants to bring that to the city. He wants to get back to the Super Bowl, and he wants to win one for this city that's never won one. So I think that's his mindset for sure. I think it's been his mindset since he got here that he's going to win basically every game. And he's done that when he's healthy for the most part. But unfortunately, the injuries have piled up against Joe Burrow.
No doubt. A matchup that I've got a close eye on here in this game, obviously no Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Christian Gonzalez. It'll be interesting to see how New England kind of attacks that. Gonzalez, I think, is one of the best corners in the league. Maybe he doesn't get as much credit as a guy like Surtain or Stingley that we saw last night for Houston. It'll be interesting to see how New England kind of deploys their defense, because usually you see a lot of too high stuff for teams against the Bengals, but obviously no Jamar there, so it'll be interesting to see how they operate there. What's kind of your mindset here on that matchup, Higgins and Gonzalez? Because it feels like T needs a huge game if they want to have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, T is going to need to have a big game, but I think the key is actually going to be who's going to be stepping up to be your number two. And I said it on the show with Reed as well that I think it's Mitchell Tinsley's day. I
Yeah.
know a lot of people are going to be looking at Jermaine Burton, figuring out, can he get on the field? But at the end of the day, it's really going to be a question of who runs those wide receiver one routes, and is it going to be T Higgins or is it going to be Mitchell Tinsley? And then from there, how do you split up the snaps after that? Because you go to Yoshivas and then Charlie Jones, Jermaine
Right.
Burton. Like the depth is really the question, because what we've already seen with teams is they've started to double our wide receivers. And so they're absolutely going to do the exact same thing this weekend with T Higgins. They're going to make you find somebody else to beat them. Now, if Mike Gesicki is back, which I was shocked to see that he's been full go the last 2 days. If he's back as well, I think that gives you that kind of wide receiver four that maybe you've been missing. But you mentioned obviously Christian Gonzalez, but Robert Spillane as the linebacker is one of the better ball hawk linebackers in the league and has been for a couple of years now. Craig Woodson's been playing really well as well, and Jalen Hawkins. So there's definitely some conversation to be had about what this Patriots defense is going to do to T. Higgins, but this is an opportunity for T. Higgins to show that, hey, everybody said I was a wide receiver one this offseason and that I should go get wide receiver one money. Well, here's my chance to show that I really am a wide receiver one, and that the $30 million that I'm making is more than worth it.
You mentioned Charlie Jones there. Obviously, he ran back a kick again earlier in the year, but hasn't really had much opportunity when it comes to running routes. He was a fourth-round pick there, I believe, so maybe you want to give him that chance. I know there's people within the organization that are high on him. Could he be a guy that steps up here? Would you like to see him get more opportunities outside of just special teams and in the passing game?
I think he's going to have to. Somebody's going to have to, right? I mean, it'll be tough. I don't know. It's been so long since we've seen Charlie Jones running routes that it's hard to know why he's on the sideline, right? I mean, certainly you would think that there's got to be something there that this Bengals team has refused basically to put him into the scheme, but somebody's got to step up today. And I know they're really high on Mitchell Tinsley, which is why it's hard to imagine a world where Charlie Jones comes in and gets a absorbent amount of snaps, but he's going to have some. There's no doubt about that. And the question is, can he take advantage of that and show that he can be a wide receiver on this team, or is he just going to be a return specialist for his entire career? That'll be his first real opportunity to do that. And, I don't know. In preseason, he looks fine, but at that point, he's going against second and third string cornerbacks. And so you mentioned he's a fourth round draft pick in 2023. This is his third year in the NFL. It's time to either put your stamp on the ability to actually be a wide receiver and get some reps, or maybe you're just going to be a return man for the rest of your career.
Coming into this year, I thought Chase Brown really was going to explode onto the scene, potentially become a household name across the NFL. That really hasn't materialized, but the past few weeks, he certainly has gotten better and has been more productive for this offense. With Burrow coming back, presumably, do you think that's going to unlock Chase Brown maybe a little bit more?
I'm actually worried he's going to do the opposite.
Okay.
If I'm being completely honest, Stone, because what we don't know is how much of this Chase Brown unlocking is the opportunities that he's getting with Joe Flacco, which Joe Burrow doesn't typically give his running backs just because he likes to throw the ball so much. How much of it is Joe Flacco ensuring that the protections are set correctly pre-snap that we don't know that answer to? We've talked a lot about that. And how much of it is just the fact that Chase Brown and this offensive line is just getting more comfortable in the run game because they've had more opportunities. And all of those are completely possible. He's now logged 4 straight games with double-digit carries after going back-to-back games against Green Bay and Detroit with single-digit carries. Like, you're never going to get, or very rarely going to get, an NFL running back going properly in the run game by giving them 8 or 9 carries. Like, most NFL running backs need or want to get going by running the ball 15 to 20 times a game, if not more, right? So, he ran 18 times against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, we've heard it so many times, the offensive line gets going when they get to be physical and really push people around in that run game. I think it's more so that than it is necessarily Joe Burrow or anything else. It's just Zac Taylor has to commit to actually establishing a run game, and that's going to be the real question. I've said it now for a couple of weeks, is how much has Zac Taylor learned from Joe Flacco? and how much has Joe Flacco taught Joe Burrow as it pertains to pre-snap reads and the, being under center and the run game and the importance of the run game. Because at least from my recollection, Joe Burrow hasn't really had that veteran leadership, that presence to be able to teach him all of these things from experience. And I think Joe Flacco has the opportunity to really be a big mentor for Joe Burrow, but how much has he been able to pass down is hard to know, because Joe Burrow's been away from the facility most of the time for rehab and everything else. So how much one-on-one time have they really had together? I don't know. I think this weekend's going to be a really good indicator, because this New England Patriots defense is really good.
Do you expect to see Burrow get, again, assuming it's him playing quarterback, to see him get under center? Because, I mean, we literally never see him under center. And obviously Flacco and even Browning to some degree were under center these past few weeks. Do you think they'll try to implement that again with Burrow, or are we back to just spreading it 5 wide and slinging that thing around?
Well, I certainly think they need to. Whether or not they will or not is a different question, I think. Now, I've seen some prognostication on X, and you can take it with a grain of salt for sure, that because of the speed of Joe Burrow's recovery, he's probably still going to have some tenderness in that toe. And so there's been conversation online about whether or not dropping back from under center is even going to be a comfortable move for him. We've seen plenty of video and images now of him doing that and taking snaps from Ted Karras and working on that center exchange, which maybe they just never took pictures of as a reporter before, because it wasn't Joe Burrow coming back from a significant injury. But I certainly don't remember seeing a whole lot of warm-ups where Joe Burrow is under center with Ted Karras. And that's really what we've been seeing a lot of the last couple of days as he comes back from this injury, is him working on that center to quarterback exchange with Ted Karras. And so that gives me a little bit of hope that that's actually going to happen now, Stone. Because I do believe, and we've talked about this for years, that this offense will be electric if you can establish a running game on top of the dynamic passing game that they already have, and have a play action option to actually show and bring those linebackers up and give Joe Burrow space behind the backers to be able to complete some passes. Because right now, a lot of teams are just dropping back as soon as that ball is snapped, because they know they can get pressure with 4 or 5 guys on the line, and because they know that the Bengals are going to pass the ball more often than not.
It's been well documented. Joe Burrow isn't the same guy in the beginning of the year as he is around this time of year and Thanksgiving, and certainly into December and January. What's your gut say? Do you think we're going to see like a week 1, week 2 version of Joe Burrow? Obviously, if we do, that's not going to be good enough to win this game. Or do you think he'll pick up like it's, Thanksgiving time, which obviously it is? What version of Joe do you think we'll see coming back from this injury?
It's a great question. All the reports from camp are that he's been slinging the ball and looking great, but he looked great in the offseason too.
Sure.
And then come in and, you get what you get at the beginning of the season. So it's hard to know. I mean, certainly there's hope that he can come in and be the midseason Joe that, you know and love. How much of that midseason growth, I guess, is on Joe Burrow? How much of that is on Zac Taylor and the play calling? How much of it is on just comfort with all of the other receivers? It's hard to really know. If I'm being brutally honest, Stone, I'm not overly optimistic.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm just being completely honest with myself, and everybody here knows I'm a homer, I'm all about it, I'm Mr. Optimist most of the time, I am not overly optimistic, not only about today, but about this whole 4-game stretch. But there's a world where Joe Burrow can come back and absolutely be that demon that we've seen him be before. I mean, everybody remembers what he did after he took that massive hit in college and he came back and took LSU to the national championship because of that kind of jolt to his psyche. So there's definitely a world where it can happen. But I'm just being brutally honest here, where I'm not overly optimistic about this game.
Greg Sandlin joining us for a couple more minutes here on the show. Let's talk about kind of the Patriots angle here. I've been really high on the Patriots all year, maybe a little bit delusionally high on them, but I think they're a really good team. I've had them at 1 in my power rankings for several weeks now. One of the guys in this game, Travion Henderson, it kind of feels like he's going to be a serious issue for this Bengals team. From a defensive standpoint, What are your expectations here for Cincinnati against a really good offense in the New England Patriots? Obviously, you go down the stats. The Bengals are 32nd in a lot of the important defensive stats. But where's your head at here offensively? Is this going to be a shootout? Because it's kind of what it feels like, obviously.
Yeah, I think New England's going to try and make it a shootout because I think they have a lot of faith in their defense to shut down the Bengals, right? So offensively, they're going to go out try and put up a bunch of points because they don't have to worry on the defensive side of the ball. You talk about obviously Trevion Henderson, who's had this kind of breakout performance now with Ramondre Stevenson, who's been hurt. He's absolutely looked great the last couple of games. Obviously, last week against the New York Jets was fine, ran for 62 yards, but before that, against Tampa Bay, he ran for 147, and he's got 4 total touchdowns between those 2 games. So, and that's not even to count the challenge that he brings out of the backfield as a receiver. 5 catches for 31 yards and a touchdown against the Jets last week. For a team with linebacking issues like the Bengals have, keeping Trevion Henderson in under wraps is going to be a huge challenge for them. But the problem is that this Patriots team has enough weapons on the outside that I don't know how you protect against all of it, right? I mean, obviously Trevion Henderson can burn you on the ground. He can burn you out of the backfield as a receiver, but then you've got Stephon Diggs, who's having a little bit of a resurgence season this year. He's at 660 yards. I mean, Drake Maye is going to pass 3,000 yards passing this week. He's at 28-36 already. We'll see if Booty's back. I haven't heard officially, but I think he's going to be coming into this one without a designation. So he'll be back. He's their deep threat, not catching a ton of balls, but when he does, it's to the house. We all know Hunter Henry is one of the better pass catching tight ends in the league. And, he's having a good year again. He's got 4 touchdowns on the year. Mac Hollins is having a decent year as well. Demario Douglas, they've got some depth, and it's going to be tough for this Bengals linebacking crew specifically. Just to be completely transparent, I have Trevion Henderson on my fantasy teams. I have Butte on my fantasy teams. I went out and picked up Hunter Henry for my fantasy team. I am fully anticipating this Patriots offense to have the type of day that we've seen from basically every team this Bengals defense has played so far this year. And that's not going to shape up well for a team who's trying to get back into it with a new quarterback under center for the first time in several weeks.
How many leagues are you in, Craig? How many fantasy leagues? Are you a fantasy nut or?
No, I mean, I've got 3 leagues.
Okay.
I've got my work league, which is a 10-team traditional league. And then I'm in 2 guillotine leagues. Are you familiar with the guillotine leagues?
No, I've heard of it, but explain.
Okay. So guillotine leagues, there's 18 teams in the league to start the season, and there's no head-to-head matchups. Every week, the lowest scoring team is eliminated from the league. So week 1, you could be out of it already. So by the time we're at this point now, I think there's 8 or 9 teams left. But every week a team gets eliminated. That team's players go on waivers. You've got $1,000 of fab to be able to bid on those players to improve your team. And by the end of the year, everybody's scoring 150 to 200 points, and it's absolutely wild. So I'm alive in 2 of those right now, but Josh Allen did not do me any favors last night with his performance. And then also on that team, I also have Nico Collins, who had a subpar performance last night as well. So going into the weekend with 18.6 points out of 2 different players combined is not a good look in a league where most teams are projected to score 120 plus.
I like that, though. I might have to get with the boys and throw that idea around. That seems like that could be pretty fun.
It's fun. It is. I enjoy it a lot. I've got some friends in a group chat that we talk about it. But, yeah, that was the league with Josh Allen and Nico. I went out and got Hunter Henry for. But just to give you an idea of the depth as you get later in the season, right? So I've got Genty and Judkins are my running backs. Amon-Ra and Nico are my starting wide receivers. I've also got David Montgomery, Laporta. The depth is there. And then in the other one, I spent my fab early to establish what I thought was a dynamic duo at wide receiver, and it's worked somewhat. But I have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on that team.
There you go.
So I went out and spent a lot of money early on. I also have Sam Laporta on that one, and then I've got James Cook, who's had a great year. And Trevion Henderson, who we talked about. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and a lot of thought that goes into it. You can't just kind of mindlessly set your roster every week and hope to succeed, because you will absolutely get passed up.
I love it. Might have to experiment there when it comes to that. But Drake Maye, I want to get your thoughts on him, because it feels like a game where Cincinnati needs to get some turnovers, and it's been 3 games since the Bengals have had one, maybe even longer than that. Where are you at with him? He's made a couple of silly throws throughout the year, but for the most part, he protects the football. How would you evaluate Drake Maye, and where do you think he's at as far as, an MVP candidate right now in the NFL?
Well, I think that you have to be looking at him as an MVP candidate with how this season has gone for the New England Patriots. I know you guys were talking about this the other day. I do think that the Patriots are probably the biggest surprise in the NFL this year. I know there's some conversation about who exactly is the biggest surprise, but I do think it's probably the Patriots sitting here 8 straight wins after a slow start, right? They lose to Las Vegas to start their season, and you're like, all right, well, New England is New England again this year, and they beat Miami, but it was close. They lose to Pittsburgh, and you're like, all right, well, here we go. But then they get on track with Carolina. They beat them 42-13, and now they've been on this roll now where they've got 8 straight wins. And Drake Maye is a big part of that. I mentioned earlier he's going to pass 3,000 yards passing this week. He's only thrown 5 interceptions compared to 20 touchdowns. That 4-to-1 TD to interception ratio is pretty dang good. So he's one of the better deep ball throwers in the league. And I think that's really what's going to be a challenge for this Bengals team is, you've got to worry about so much. And the minute you start worrying about Hunter Henry and Stephon Diggs on their under routes, they're going to beat you deep with Boutte. So Drake Maye is absolutely in the MVP running, if not the lead in the clubhouse right now. And if he can continue the streak that they're on right now and lead them into the playoffs, I think it kind of becomes that surefire MVP. And then I don't think there's any doubt about Mike Vrabel being the coach of the year as well in that scenario. So, it's absolutely an interesting story. And, they fire their coach after 1 year last year because Mike Vrabel is available, and it has absolutely paid off for them and just shows what a good coach can do for a franchise when you have it. So
final one for you, Craig. I know you got to run. When it comes to the safety room, obviously there's been a lot of conversation about, why aren't we getting another body in there? We're just rolling with Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. Dejon Anthony could potentially be a factor in this game. Most Bengals fans just remember him for the PI call against Kansas City early in the season last year. But when you look at that room, would you like to see something change up? Would you like to see Tyson Anderson get a shot? And do you think that Al Golden will pull the trigger and get Geno Stone out of there, or just roll him out for 100% of the snaps like he always does?
I memean, I don't understand how this team benches Logan Wilson so quickly, but then still allows Geno Stone to go out there and put forth the effort that he's been giving. Like, it just the lack of consistency is really kind of the mind-boggling piece. And you watch film from this past weekend and weekends past, and Geno Stone is consistently putting reps on tape that are just subpar. And it's not just the tackling, it's his routes, his quickness to the ball and everything in between. When we went out and got Geno Stone, it was this idea that he was going to come in and be this ball hawk and fly around the field and really cause a lot of havoc in the deep part of the field. And that just has not happened. I mean, the interceptions that he has, even for the most part, quite frankly, are just balls that he gets lucky on, right? I mean, he get tipped up and he happens to be there. He's not ball hawking. He's not making tackles. He's not knocking guys down. I really don't know what he's bringing to this team at this point. So yeah, I mean, whether it's Dejon Anthony, whether it's Tyson Anderson, whether it's somebody else, I don't really care. But Geno Stone clearly isn't part of your future at this point, and I'm not sure that he even gives you the best chance to win today. And so, there's zero reason to continue to run him out there. I know Al Golden talked about him even in the offseason as soon as he got here about how impressed he was with Geno Stone, both as a leader and as a player. And I don't see it. And, the safety room is probably going to be one of, if not the top positional groups that this Bengals team is going to be targeting this offseason, whether it be through free agency or the draft, because they haven't really shown that they have a lot of faith in their young guys. And Geno Stone certainly isn't the answer either.
No doubt about it. Craig, appreciate you. Craig_Sandlin on Twitter. Chatterbox Bengals, Chatterbox Reds. He'll be there on Sunday with the live stream. So look forward to that, and make sure you guys tune into that there as well. Craig, appreciate the time as always, and we'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. We'll see you later, Stone.
All right. Thanks, Craig.